So I just want to introduce myself. I am Natasha Noree Standard. I am the CEO and founder of two shoe companies. And this is my first introductory YouTube channel product. And I decided to start this YouTube channel because I wish I had somewhere to go that I could get all of my questions answered when I started my business 6 years ago. I'm the owner of two shoe companies. One is Noree Shoes and the other is Equal Footing. I am a CEO and founder. I am a Ars Tutoria shoe school graduate. I decided to go to shoe school and then I started my business. Before that, I was a U.S. Army paratrooper logistics officer. Imagine that. Imagine Imagine that. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about how me being a former military person, military officer, has really transformed, and I use all of those skills being a business owner. This channel is going to exist because I want it to be a place where business owners can come and get information, get inspiration, and really have a place to go to talk about what they're going through as business owners, because most business owners are not making millions and millions of dollars, and the people that are making the millions of it aren't necessarily the most successful business owners. It's just that we put a value to how much money they're making, but are they really having a great time? Do they have work-life balance? I plan on talking about all of that, and I want to have a lot of business owners come, and we'll have a discussion about that. And so what viewers can gain is pretty much relatability. I have, I know all kinds of people that do all kinds of things. And one of my great skills is networking. One of my great skills is networking. So you'll be like, how do you know her? Because I know them and I talk to them and I follow up, and sometimes I say I want to be your friend, and I'm really interested in being someone's friend. But that's one of my superpowers. I'm a really, really good networker. So I just wanted to say that this isn't just a highlight reel. This is a journey. This is a journey. I'm going to talk about what worked, what didn't, and what I wish I knew sooner, most importantly. So welcome, YouTube. I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be challenging, interesting, ups and downs, and I'm looking forward to the journey. And I want you to check us out, subscribe, and there's more to follow. It's going to be great. This is a close-up of the Ariane. They're so beautiful. You'll see more videos like this with all of my collections. I have some really beautiful shoes, and I have some really durable combat boots. So let's talk about it. Army leadership as it relates to entrepreneurship. So we'll talk about a couple bullet points. Leadership under pressure. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later because, I think there's a misnomer that people think that, you're just put out in front of 50 people and you're going to lead them. No. Army officers, non-commissioned officers, we all receive extensive leadership training. I'm talking about extensive, years and years of leadership training. And then you're put in, initially you have a squad, which is 7 people. Then you'll have 7 people. Then you have maybe 30 people. Then you have 150 people, 200, and it stacks. You're never just thrown in front of people and then expect to lead them. So leadership under pressure, it's always pressure when you're in the glass house and you have to make a decision. And what makes pressure under leadership is the decision making. So I consider myself a pretty good decision maker. I had a terrible year last year, so I had to question my decision making skills. But I'm a pretty good analytical, strategic decision maker. And they have this, it's called a triangle, the way you make decisions. The cost, the amount of time, and quality. You can't have all three. And you have to decide. And so that's how I make a decision. And this is what I always say to myself. I make the best decision with the information I have at that very moment. And that's all you can do. And you have to stick with that. We're going to talk about discipline versus motivation, which are, I think if you have a good source of motivation, you can have discipline to get there. I call it a means to an end. And then we'll talk about accountability when failure is not optional. So I believe in full accountability. If I am the CEO of my company, anything that goes wrong is my responsibility, right or wrong. I'm taking full ownership. I'm taking responsibility for it. So I'll talk about what I learned as an Army officer that has made me successful as an entrepreneur, and then what has surprised me most about entrepreneurship that mirrors my military leadership just without the uniform. That's going to be a great conversation, and I look forward. So that's the Arion pump. It's a fist print that I made, that I created. It's basically women empowerment. So that's the black fist, the white fist, the purple, all inclusive women empowerment. I love this shoe. It's very comfortable. Block heel, never 4 inches high. Check out my website, Nori Shoes. But let's talk about what I'm here to talk about. I'm not selling shoes. I'm telling what the great experiences that I've had as an entrepreneur and as a business owner. So what differentiates me as a fashion founder? So why did I choose footwear? So I had two awesome grandmothers. I had a grandmother who was 5'11". Just imagine Serena Williams, but she's a 60-year-old grandmother. But she was amazing. She was beautiful. And she always looked extremely elegant. She had beautiful high cheekbones. And her shoe game was always tight, even though she wore size 11 because she's a tall woman. And then on the flip side, I had a grandmother who was basically absolutely beautiful, and she had all these designer clothes, and I was like, wow. And so I'm old enough to know that there's a brand that was really once very popular. It was called Anya Agner, and you would just have this A on all of the Anya Agner handbags and the wallets and the shoes and the leather jackets and the luggage. And my grandmother had so much of it that I thought that was her name. So, and her shoe game was always tight. So one of my girlfriends from college told me that, oh my God, you said that you were going to start a shoe company in college. I said, I don't remember that. Now I'm thinking about it like a crazy person because it is the most difficult thing I've done in my life. But I have no regrets, and I think footwear chose me. I don't think I chose footwear. So we'll talk, and I'm looking forward to having great conversations about this. So where did I train? I left the Army. I immediately enrolled in Savannah College of Art and Design. I knew I wanted to do something in fashion. I have a lot of fashion background. When I was in college, I worked for Vogue magazine. And then I went to Ars Sutoria Shoe School in Milan, Italy for 1 year to learn how to make shoes. I learned footwear pattern making, footwear design. It was an excellent experience. I learned footwear construction. I learned footwear fit and all the materials and the leather tanneries, which we're going to talk about in a future video. And then also in design school, I learned the gap between footwear design and actual real manufacturing. And we'll definitely get into that. And that's going to be a great conversation. So what it actually takes to build a shoe brand. So let's have this conversation about that. It's going to be, big picture, and then we'll get into the details later. Deliver real value and credibility. Finding factories. That was one of the reasons I went to Ars Sutoria Shoe School, because I wanted to make sure I found an Italian factory, because I wanted all of my shoes to be made in Italy. You hear everyone talk about MOQs, minimum order quantities, something that can be negotiated. You have to leverage your power. Pricing mistakes. I won't get into this story, but I know a young lady who had this beautiful handbag line. They were sold in Saks, Bergdorf, Nordstrom's, all of the heavy hitters. She went out of business in 15, 18 months. And pretty much because her pricing strategy wasn't where it needs to be. She was charging $4.25 for the bags. I think it was costing $4.50 to make them in Italy and ship it to her. So she's no longer in business, but I can relate to pricing mistakes. Inventory risk, holding the inventory and you don't have anywhere for the inventory to go. Cash flow versus creativity. That means cash flow, you have an MVP. You know your MVP is going to sell. You got to keep your MVP in the pipeline. You have to change the color and keep pushing your MVP because you know your people are going to buy your MVP. Now, creativity. You can create a SKU, that's creative, but never forget about your MVP. Never. And I know it's faux pas in fashion, but never forget about your MVP. Like Tory Burch, those flats, that was her MVP. And I think she still sells them to this day. So why most shoe brands fail? Because it's extremely difficult business. You have sizing issues, you have inventory issues, and most importantly, you have to make sure that you have the correct pricing strategy so that you can take your money from sales, your revenue income from sales, to reorder the next season's inventory. But we'll talk much more about this because it's very important. Because it's a rough business, it's a tough business, but I know that together we can get this done. Thank you. So let's talk about behind the brands, the two companies that I founded, the two companies. So my first company is Nori Shoe Company. Everything made in Italy, Italian leather, Italian artisans, Italian team, beautiful luxury shoes that I'm so proud of that brand. I started in 2019, and then as we know, the world stopped in 2020. And so no one cared about shoes, no one cared about luxury shoes, no one cared about anything but breathing in 2020. So I then knew I wanted to fall back on something that I had been passionate about, that I had experienced, was military grade combat boot size for the female foot. Yeah, I love that equal footing. I know it's relevant. I sell to the Department of Defense. I'm very blessed and lucky. But they're both growing brands. They're both emerging brands. They're not Nike yet. They're not Reebok back in the day yet. They're not Puma yet, but they will be. And I started the brands because most 90% of the shoes that women are walking around with are made by men, and they don't understand what women are going through. So there's this big hoopla in the footwear industry, comfort versus aesthetics. That's something we are going to talk about. My shoes are designed in Italy, like I said. My boots are designed in China, but some are made in the United States, which is very lucky, U.S. manufacturing. My purpose is to provide a beautiful footwear for women and give them the power that they have already, and they just stand on your power as powerful women. I was lucky enough to experience that when I was in the United States military. I had great leadership, great peers, great subordinates. I had a really great experience. My brand is all about inclusivity, and my brand is definitely about leadership and accountability. I also have licenses for all of the military services, and I'm really looking forward to you guys experiencing my shoes, but also experiencing what it's like to be a fellow veteran and now a business owner. It's something that's very interesting, but we all can learn from each other, and I'm looking forward to building this community. Thank you. Lessons learned along the way. There are going to be a lot of videos about lessons learned along the way. There's so many opportunities for me to write books, dummies for starting a shoe company, dummies for veteran business owners, but lessons that I've learned along the way. I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis. I like that word, synopsis, of lessons learned along the way. What I underestimated. I underestimated the cost of marketing. I underestimated where I was going to find my talent, how hard it is to find talent, reliable talent. I underestimated the purpose of my purpose and staying in line with myself and my beliefs and understanding. And then never giving up belief in myself. I underestimated that. Even though I hadn't had a really great military career, I hadn't been a business owner. So I was kind of like, I'm going to rely on these experts, but no. I underestimated that not having belief in myself would not be a good angle and a good way to go. So I have garnered my belief in myself back, but I kind of lost it along the way. I underestimated that. And then, even though I had been a leader for like 2,500 people and it's been lonely, this is a different type of loneliness because you want to talk about your business. Well, I have friends that said, look, I don't want to hear about shoes. And I said, that's all I have. You want to talk about your business all the time, but people don't want to hear it. That is a different type of loneliness. A different type of loneliness. Learning to say no. I think I've always said I'll say no to anyone. No. Learning to say no to people, opportunities. I had a friend that just sent me a LinkedIn message. Hey, would you like to set up a booth at the Super Bowl? What am I going to, how is that going to benefit me? That should be the mantra because you don't want to waste your time and you don't want to waste any more money. We always waste a lot of money. Resilience during slow periods. So this is what I did during Christmas. After Black Friday, after the Christmas holidays, I wrote my business plan for 2026. You need to use that time to gather yourself together. Gather yourself together because it's really tough being a business owner. But you can get yourself together and you can keep going. Just don't quit. Do not quit because no one will believe in you but yourself. And you should not quit. Okay, so now I've done my first videos for my YouTube. I'm super excited. This is 2026. I'm super excited about it. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be, difficult as this entire road of being an entrepreneur has been, but I'm looking forward to it. So why am I sharing now? I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I just said I'm going to do it. Plus, I got better with my IG, TikTok videos. So I said this is the perfect time because I can use those videos on different platforms. So that was one of the reasons. But I really believe that plain speaking business owners that's not who I love, Alex Hormozy, who's not Alex Hormozy or his wife, just plain speaking people can give you information that can go a very, very long way, give you gems. But I realize that some people don't want to listen to gems. Some people just want to go in that direction, and that is okay too, because you have to learn from your mistakes. So what content is coming next? It's going to be great content. Well, I'm gonna talk about how being in the military has kind of helped me be a successful entrepreneur, how to start a shoe brand, what schools to go to, how to create your landed costs, pricing strategy. It's gonna be a plethora of information that I am sharing, and I'm glad to share it. But I'm also gonna do a lot of interviews from business owners to say how it is the realistic, not the Kim Kardashian approach, the realistic approach to business ownership. So if you're building something, if you're designing something, if you're leading something, especially if you're a woman, this channel is for you. And I look forward to seeing you. Subscribe so we can keep going and make this a great experience for everyone. Thank you.